Hello, everybody. Adrian Plass here.
Yes, and Bridget. Hello, you sounded very chirpy, Adrian.
I was faking it. No, I wasn't. I feel quite cheerful, actually, this evening. And this is, 194 in Sounding the Shadows. And first of all, thank you so much, those who write to us. We get back to people as soon as we can, but sometimes it takes a while. But thank you. We do appreciate every single email that we get. Thank you.
Well, there's another significance about today.
Yes, there is. This day, I gather, is technically and officially and formally, in this country anyway, and maybe across the world, I'm not sure, is the first day of spring.
Yes, that's right. I remember the first time we went to Australia and we were in Queensland. And, you know, in Queensland, they don't really have seasons. I mean, they might disagree, but they don't have seasons like we know seasons, with everything being so very different. And we were there in the very early months of the year. And I remember saying to somebody, they said, surely you would want to live here. And I said, well, no, because I would miss the seasons. And I said, the thing is, at the moment, it's spring in England. And I started waxing lyrical about spring and about the daffodils and about the crocuses,
Snowdrops.
and about the snowdrops. And actually, I remembered suddenly all the spring times where the wind and the rain had come and smashed the daffodils and squashed the crocuses.
Well, because we have April showers, don't we, famously?
Well, we have April showers, but we also have extremely
we
cold.
have lovely spring.
And you were wondering whether spring has actually been told that it's spring this year.
Well, someone ought to tell spring, get his act together. What I was doing today, because life is tough at the moment, there's rotten things on the news and all sorts of, we've got friends and acquaintances who are going through bad times.
Yeah, and we also do hear from quite a lot of people for whom the fact that it's the beginning of spring is totally meaningless, that actually there is no change. They're in situations where there isn't
very
going
dire
to be,
situations.
And they're not going to be out there
nice
looking
just
at
to
the
reach out to
the
people like that and
things.
say, you know, we know there are some people who no one would want to swap places with.
That's right.
Because they live in a state of, whether it's health or whether it's something else, where they cannot change their circumstances.
Well, that's right. And I did think that, Adrian. I thought, you know, it's all very well talking about spring, but
I know.
But there are certain situations that mean you don't smell the beautiful new spring air or see the flowers or anything else. So we're very fortunate.
We are. But I thought it would be nice just to look at some of the little springtime things that happen that change you. Some of them are very trivial, and I'm sorry to go from the people who are trapped in so this is trivial, I know, but I'm going to ask you something, Bridget, now.
You are, right?
Yes. So
okay.
I was watching television today, and there's a program at the moment where 3 people go into a house to clean it and mend it and replace things, right?
Yeah.
Which is quite good, actually.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that we have often discussed with doleful faces, as do many people, and actually on the radio today someone was saying that the average English family clean their oven every 18 months.
Is this what you
No, I'm
wanted
getting
to
there.
talk to
Yes,
me
it
about?
is. It is.
This is very worrying.
Instead of every year, which you should. Anyway, so the big question was, how do you clean it? Right, so this expert lady, now what I want to ask you is if you knew this already, right?
Right.
You probably did. She said, if you want to know how to clean your oven, I'm going to show you.
Right.
She got a pan that can go in the oven without being damaged. She filled it with water.
With water,
Oh, you know this.
No, I only know
No,
that. No,
she put it.
no.
Listen, you're pretending you know now, but I don't think you do. She put it in the oven for 20 minutes at 230 degrees, and and then I watched the effect of the steam on the oven was incredible. So she then scraped off an immense amount of stuff. Now, did you know about the boiling water in the oven?
No, I honestly didn't.
You didn't. Yeah.
I can miserably think of all the times when I have cleaned the oven, and what happens is all the horrible sludge sort of seeps out onto the floor, and the newspaper that you've put to stop it going onto the floor, and your jeans, which you're kneeling next to the oven in order to clean it. So she's pretty acey.
I'm now hoping that I'm an evangelist for this saviour of the oven cleaning deficient oven cleaners.
Yes, well, I think
and
you should try
I want
it
us
this week.
to try. No, I think we should try.
Absolutely.
I like the idea. Anyway,
I
so
was very
that really
struck.
cheered me up because all my life I've wondered how to clean ovens.
I mean, the thing is that we have seen many adverts for oven cleaners and all these other things, really, and there's always something new. We're talking springtime, we're talking new, and there's always new comes in big letters, doesn't it? And I've often thought that the new, even better, means that the one that was new and even better a few months ago
Is not as good.
It's not as good,
No.
and so you're kind of constantly made to feel that you are not in springtime, that you are kind of in the dull months of the year, but there is a brighter future if you just bought their newer, better
It's usually
product.
the words, isn't it? I mean, you no longer have small anymore.
No.
You have something like large, very large, and gigantic.
Yes, you do. You're
Um,
quite
yeah,
right.
that's
Or you
right.
start at medium-sized cup
That's
and
right,
go into
yes.
large. Yes, I hadn't thought of that, but you're right.
Now here's another one, which is I found very touching
Another-
this week. Another little springtime moment, right? Sitting with
Okay.
our grandson, right? And you have to picture this. I'm sitting on the sofa,
Yeah.
and over at the corner of the room, balanced right away in the corner, but visible,
Yes.
is a tiger. I mean, of course, a stuffed tiger.
I know this guy.
I know you do. He's called Naughty Tiger, and he has a very angry expression on his face.
That's why it's called Naughty Tiger.
But because he's so small, he can't react like a tiger because he doesn't have the power. Anyway, our grandson came very quietly in and sat on my knee in a very quiet way, in a way I hadn't known before, and said nothing, but just sat very still, held on to me. In the corner was Naughty Tiger.
Oh,
Now, we've begun to realise that with our grandson, as with many small children, I think, they decide to blame something they think they might have got wrong on one of the toys.
oh.
So, Naughty Tiger, in a sort of Jesus-like role, was sitting in the corner, being responsible for whatever had happened to Rafa.
If you
Rafa,
knew Naughty Tiger, you would realise he's got quite a fearsome
very fierce
expression,
look.
actually. He didn't look
But
very
the-
repentant.
The touching thing was that Rafa was sitting with me, safe
Yeah.
and okay. And just for now, Naughty Tiger is a way for him to just move his troubles away from him a little bit. And I've just thought about what we've said a lot recently, that how hard it is to pick your battles with 3-year-olds, you know, because you don't want them to be unaccountable for what they do. But on the other hand, you want them to know there are people who love them and understand them, and want to help them through these things. So it was a
It doesn't
really
just
lovely
apply to
moment.
3-year-olds, does it? I mean, you're talking about finding moments when you can sit completely comfortably and safely in the
Yeah.
middle of a whirling world.
Yeah, that's
And a
right,
3-year-old's world is pretty whirling.
Yeah,
There's all
it
sorts
is,
of
yeah.
things that crop up that are troubling and new. And you know, you're talking about these moments. Well, I found a moment. I was hunting through some of our old children's books to see whether there was anything that was just right for him. And I came across books that we absolutely loved, and they've been loved all over the world, I know, and they're the Frog and Toad books.
Oh, they're wonderful. Yeah.
We often, as a family, there's in one of the stories, it says the day is spoiled, said Toad,
That's right.
because a small thing goes wrong. And we've often, as we've started out with a family expedition, something small goes wrong, and one of our family will say, the day is spoiled, said Toad.
That's correct, yeah.
But this one was the one about the list, and
Oh, I remember the list.
okay,
yeah.
well, I'm going to read some of it
Okay.
because
Right.
there is something about that seemed very profound to me. Maybe because in my old age I'm writing a lot more lists than I ever did
So,
before.
the Gospel according to Frog and Toad.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
One morning, Toad sat in bed. I have many things to do, he said. I will write them all down on a list so I can remember them. Toad wrote on a piece of paper a list of things to do today, and then he wrote, wake up. I've done that, said Toad, and he crossed out, wake up. Then Toad wrote other things on the paper, a list of things to do today. Wake up, which he's crossed out, eat breakfast, get dressed, go to Frog's house, take a walk with Frog, eat lunch, take a nap, play games with Frog, eat supper, go to sleep. There, said Toad, now my day is all written down. He got out of bed and had something to eat, and then Toad crossed out, eat breakfast, because he had, of course. Toad took his clothes out of the cupboard and put them on. Then he crossed out get dressed. And Toad put the list in his pocket. He opened the door, walked out into the morning, went to Toad's front door, took the list from his pocket and crossed out go to Frog's house. And it was all going very well, wasn't it? Toad knocked at the door. Hello, said Frog. Look at my list of the things to do, said Toad. Oh, said Frog, that's very nice. Toad said, my list tells me we'll go for a walk. All right, said Frog, I'm ready. Frog and Toad went on a long walk. Then Toad took the list from his pocket again and crossed out, guess what? Take a walk with Frog. Just then, there was a strong wind. It blew the list out of Toad's hand. The list blew high up into the air. Help! Cried Toad. My list is blowing away. What will I do without my list? Hurry, said Frog. We'll run and catch it. No, shouted Toad. We cannot do that. Why not? Asked Frog. Because, wailed Toad, running after my list is not one of the things that I wrote on my list of things to do. And it goes on about the fact that they look and look and look for the list, and he doesn't feel he can do anything without his list.
Yeah.
And finally, they sit and do nothing because there's nothing to do
on the list
if you're not on your list. Until finally, Frog said, Toad, it's getting dark. We should be going to sleep now. Go to sleep, shouted Toad. That was the last thing on my list. Toad wrote on the ground with a stick, go to sleep, crossed out, go to sleep. There, said Toad, now my day is all crossed out. And they went to sleep.
And why is it that story kind of pokes deep inside me?
Why is it, do you think?
Well, a part of it is just making lists. I mean, I'm very good at making lists, and once I've made a list, of course, then I ignore everything on the list because I've done the thing that makes me feel responsible. But it's not only that.
Oh, no, carry on. Sorry.
No,
I was only going to say my little ploy is that I start my list with something I have done so I can cross it out, feel better about it. Yes, I hadn't realised I was tuning in with Toad when I do that, but there we are. Carry on anyway.
Well, it's a bit more difficult to explain, but it's something to do with trying to bring order into your life where actually what you need is not order, but a readiness for what is going to come next, whatever that happens to be.
Once your list has been blown away.
Once your list has been blown away. And there's a sort of debate in the air, or perhaps it's only in my head, about the tension between saying God knows exactly how your life will be and saying if God needs you for anything, he'll come and get you to join in with what he's planned and what his list is. So I don't want to say any more about that, but I find it very interesting. As
but there is another way to look at it as well. I mean, I think the Gospel according to Toad, Frog and Toad, we could go on for a long time, but the other way of it is to say what happens when your list blows away, when all the things you had planned to do get blown away by a wind.
Well,
and you're left feeling, well, I can do nothing now because now
that's right.
I don't have a future because it's not part of what I had thought it would be. And that I think applies to many of us where there's something crops up in our lives which was not how we thought it was going to be.
It's interesting. I was saying to someone yesterday morning about a project we were involved. We weren't very involved with it. Back in the south of England years ago, and it was a big church project, and there was a lot of celebration as it opened, and people prayed and they said things, and somebody prophesied, and away they went, and there was a newsletter that went with it, and or a little magazine it was in, and it folded and went really badly wrong, and it was finished. And I remember there was a tiny, tiny paragraph in the bottom right-hand corner of the last page of this little magazine thing, saying it had shut. So that big thing on the list had gone. And if you make your list without regard to the fact that things change and fail
Yes.
and sometimes succeed, you're not going to get very far. It is going to blow. Anyway, interesting. I think we might think more about Toad's list sometime.
Absolutely. Come on, what else? I mean, one of the things that's been puzzling me, and I gather it's because, and this is such a silly thing, really, but we moved into this house last January, didn't we? And to our amazement and intrigueness, on the apple tree that we could see outside the sitting room window were large red apples.
Can I just say, these were Disney apples.
They were extraordinary apples.
They were big, round,
red,
artificial-looking apples.
Yes, but they were real apples.
They were real apples, yeah.
This year, there are none.
There is not a single one.
No, and I thought, oh, come on, apple tree. It's spring. Did you not know? And I went out and looked at it yesterday, and I was trying to see where are the buds? Is there going to be blossom? Are there going to be apples? Or, as in the case of Toad, have they said, well, no, it's not on my list this year to have any apples? I don't know.
Interesting, that. One very little thing is a little springtimey moment for me, is that my daughter, Kate, also your daughter, you might remember her, actually explained to me how to put the child's chair into the car. Ever since we've had the chair, the child, and the car, I have found it pretty well impossible to put it in. One piece of information, one tiny piece of information has made it possible for me to put it in about 10 seconds.
Right.
If somebody had just told me...
No. If you had read the instructions, we're really bad at reading manuals and instructions.
No,
so maybe we
that.
Should look at lists a little more.
Anyway, moving on. We had a quite nice day this week, didn't we?
Oh, well, we had a really nice day. We wanted a new walk. I mean, our freedom is different to how it used to be. We have to look for somewhere that's okay for the power chair that you have to be in. But and we do quite often find it doesn't work. But no, I mean, this was, we felt quite excited we were going to find a new walk. And we did. Is that what you were thinking about?
Well, I think it's difficult for people who... I mean, we're looking at three different things. Exercise for us, place where the chair runs okay, and somewhere where the dog can be let off the lead. And
somewhere like
when we find somewhere new, as we did this week, and we haven't tried it properly yet, but we are so excited about going back to this little kind of moorland place and setting off along this path to see where it goes. When you can't walk, I mean, for me, to find a place that is paved properly, where you can go in the chair, is fantastic. And the dog loves it, and you love it. We all love it when we find a walk. So that's got quite a springtimey
feel because it's new.
Yeah.
Do you mean, or because it looked nice, or because? Yeah, we haven't actually tried it yet.
No, but because it's new, and it looks accessible, and I don't know. I'm excited about it anyway. And then I was wondering, as we always usually end up like this, wondering what would be on Jesus' list of springtimey things.
Well, come on.
Well,
one
was that, and I don't know if we talk about these things too much, but Jairus' daughter, the little girl who was healed, when, as anyone who knows that story knows, when they got to the house where the child was, people laughed at Jesus because he said she's not dead, she's asleep. And he then told everyone, you keep out, and he just took 2 of his friends in with him, or 3 of his friends, I can't remember, and he went in, and the little girl came back to life. And he probably told them to stay out because of the little girl waking up, and he didn't want to fuss. But I just wondered if he felt just a moment of real pleasure when the laughter stopped.
Okay.
When he heard the laughter stop, as people said, I think she's alive. And he thought, yes, she's alive. I saw her living in my mind, and that's what she is. And I feel really good about that.
So you're talking about moments where Jesus himself was able to just have a little good feel, a nice, exciting
Well, I
feel.
think they are recorded. I mean, there's a story where the centurion comes up to Jesus and says, my servant is ill, can you heal him? And Jesus says, I'll come with you. And he says, you don't have to do that. I'm not worth you coming to my house. I know that if you just say he will be. So if you could do that. And Jesus then says, I've not found faith like this anywhere else. And this is a centurion, a Roman. So where did you get that from? And I think at that moment, rather like with the woman at the well who was a Samaritan, thinking, this is incredible.
Well, and Jairus himself, going back to that, that you have somebody who is a very important man coming into the street and kneeling down in front of Jesus and saying, come and help my little girl.
Yes,
I mean, this is a little girl. I mean, we only have to think about the lack of value that women and girls tended to have. There wasn't a lot going for them, really.
No,
but this is his little girl, and he puts all of his dignity on hold. No wonder Jesus wanted to be there, and no wonder he will have felt great pleasure. That's true. That's true.
Yes, I'm sure there are others, but those are the ones that occurred to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're very fortunate that Easter has been decided that it will be in springtime, and it's early this year, and it's March the 31st, so the spring better get a move on, really, if churches in this country are going to have some daffodils and various things, But I think, I think... I don't know, I just keep thinking about new being sometimes something that you plan yourself, like we're talking about our walk, or something that you're thrown into, and going back to the idea of the list, the things that you thought were going to happen. And I was thinking, Adrian, I mean, you're having such fun with your limericks. Who can you think of very early on in the story of God, or if you like, the story of the Bible, who had to face something totally new and maybe not very exciting?
Well, I think this is the last one I did, the limericks. I'm coming towards the end now, and I guess it will be turned into some kind of publication in the end. But this is probably the latest. On the day after I'll start again. On the day after God got so vexed, both Adam and Eve were perplexed. We know we are nude, and it's terribly rude, but we've no idea what to do next. So do you think God then said, if you remember, I have created the birds and bees. I'm going to send you up to just have a look at that, and if that doesn't work, I'll try to think of something else.
No, I think he knew. I think he knew. But that's another whole story. Not maybe a very springtimey story, but it is an example of facing a world, a future, which doesn't have a list.
Yeah, that's true. Their world in there, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, it's been nice rambling through our little springtime stories.
Yes, and we'd love to hear yours, as always.
Yeah, we would. Okay. See you next week. Bye-bye.